guys, it's Sophie. So this morning we're going to be doing a quick discussion video. As probably most of you know, there was a little bit of drama on BookTube recently. I don't want to focus on that explicitly. I'm going to talk about something else that I think relates to it and that I don't think's been said already, because I think a lot of people have said a lot of different things and we're all, you know, quite capable of expressing ourselves, and those opinions differ and they go from sort of supportive to one side to supportive on another side, and I'm not interested in talking about that. The one thing I am interested in talking about, and the one thing that I think I would feel needs to be said, would be on the matter of accepting and understanding offence of other people. Because of all the things that I saw on Twitter and throughout either side, the one thing that really sort of struck me as unfair on both sides was a lack of empathy for what the other person was feeling. And for me, empathy should be like the cornerstone of how we treat other people. That is my moral system. I am not perfect. I have said things that are sexist, that are racist, that are ageist, that tell you that because you're a certain religion then you aren't as good as someone else. I have said things that discriminate against pregnant ladies. I've said things that would mean that I don't think fat people are as worthy as thin people. I've said things that I think beautiful people are worth more than people who aren't beautiful in my mind. I know and I accept that I have said and done those things. Does that make me a bad human? Does that make me a bad person? Not necessarily, because the thing that matters is what you do next. The thing that matters to me, personally matters to me, is what happens when you say something, you do something, you act in a way that causes someone else to say, do you know what, that's really not on. So I think there's three ways that it goes really. The first of which is to say, I don't think that what I said was offensive, and therefore I don't think that you should be offended by my words. The second thing is to ask questions. So sometimes people don't know why they've been offensive, if they have been, or why people are worried or bothered, and they'll ask questions to that person. And the third route is when someone sort of just accepts that what they've said was offensive or what they've said was wrong in some manner. The approach I would want to see in my life and in people that I associate with would be the central one. I would like to think that I don't really associate with people who would be offensive or sexist or racist or ageist or whatever, and be aware that they're being it. I wouldn't like to think that they suddenly just think, yeah, well, I was, you know, when I said that I was meaning that women are worth less than men. I guess I probably shouldn't have said that in front of you. That's not the kind of people I want in my life. The kind of people I want in my life are people who say, okay, I didn't think of that before, or okay, I didn't really think that would be offensive. Like, what's happening? What's going on for you? And that, to me, is the most valuable response you can have to someone being offended by something you have done. I'm going to give you two examples because I want to show that I don't want to be attacking anyone. I just want to be talking about it as a general point. And I am guilty of doing stuff too. And it doesn't mean that I'm a completely horrible individual. So the first one is with a friend who I have who is also called Sophie, and she is transsexual, so she was born a man. I met her and sort of spoke to her when, for me, she was always a woman. I never knew her as a man. But it was obviously, you know, a part of her life that was important to her, and she was transitioning at the stage at which I met her, so it was a fairly sort of influential part of what she was going through at the time. And we had some conversations about it, and I was sort of asking questions. I was really curious. I'd never met anyone who was trans before, and I really wanted to know and understand what that was like, what that felt like. And I remember I asked her, how does it feel to be trapped in the wrong body? How does that feel? And she stopped me short. She just said, no. She said it's often used that way. People often say, it feels like I'm trapped, or it's not my body. And she said for her, that's not how it felt at all. And that's a really convenient way of viewing how transsexuals can feel. She said, it's more like your body's doing something you don't want it to be doing. It's still you. You wouldn't just chuck it away. You still appreciate all the things it's done for you. But it's more like your knee has decided to grow another leg. And you don't really get why it's there, and you don't understand why this is a part of you, or it doesn't feel like it is a part of you. and you need to fix it. You need to have a medical procedure to fix it. It's not a case of all of me and all of who I am is irrelevant now. And I think that was something I hadn't considered before. I assumed it was like, I want to start over. If I could, I would go back and I would be born and I would be, you know, a woman from birth. I didn't think about the fact that you could value the person you've been your whole life, which sounds so stupid and so naive, but I didn't get that you could value that as well as the element of who you would become and the ways you might change in a transition. And the second example I'm going to give is one that happened really recently. So it's a really good example of how I'm still thinking my way through this. So I was having a conversation with an individual who was raised Muslim. I was raised Christian, and that was very much a part of my upbringing. You guys know a little bit about that. And I was talking about problematic texts, and I do still have quite large problems with religious texts. I will never have a religious text in my library because I don't like them as teaching tools. I don't like them as objects. I don't like it. I would rather have just secular texts for me personally. And we were talking about a couple of points that I had that were problematic with Islam, and my friend sort of was quite upset by what I was saying. And for me, the things I was saying weren't all that out there. I was sort of challenging things that I've seen challenged in books, I've seen challenged in talks. And then it was sort of noted to me like everything I've seen is westernised, essentially. And everything I've seen is from the approach of people who are based in, you know, a broadly sort of Western Christian society. And it was something that I hadn't quite clicked before, which wasn't necessarily that is this text not problematic or problematic, because I still think it is problematic. But what lens am I viewing this through? And what skews could be in the place of that lens? What overarching messages might I be getting in, or feelings might I be getting in that I didn't intend to take on? And am I thinking about this in a way that isn't helpful? And I don't know at the moment because it's new and I haven't had a chance to think through it properly. But I will, because for me it's a case of I'm really interested in why what I've said was offensive. I need to know why, because I absolutely hate to have anyone think that I truly was discriminating against people. I hate it in my life, and you guys know that a big part of why I like my job, why I do my job, is because I get to be one of those people who stands up and says, I don't think that you're doing that for the right reasons. I don't think that you're doing that because this person is the best candidate, the best person. I think you're doing that because you have ideas of what people are as a generalisation, and you aren't looking at them as a human. But I just think, as a sort of summary, have a little bit of empathy on both sides. Be aware that all of us make mistakes. This is what I said on my Twitter. All of us make mistakes and we pay the tuition regardless. So regardless of whether or not we say, you know, I'm going to learn from this, you're going to get some impact when you do upset people, and that was fairly loud Twitter feedback. But it's up to you whether or not you want to learn anything from what you've paid for. So it's up to you whether or not you say, no, I don't want to listen to any of that, whether you take it on entirely or whether you are going through and you're trying to figure out your own mind. And on the other side, have empathy for people making mistakes and people holding views that are less liberal than your own or are poorly informed, because I think we all have them. I truly think that all of us have unconscious or conscious biases towards certain groups and classes of people. And there's a really interesting Harvard study that would agree with what I'm saying, which I'll link down below, which lets you explore your unconscious bias in your life through some sort of association and sort of connection exercises. And it's really useful for what I do, because I know that I'm biased against certain groups of people. I know that I am far more likely to give a gay man a job than I am a straight woman. And I need to know that. And it doesn't, for now, I don't know why. I don't know why I have this bias. But I do, and it means I need to just address it. It means I need to think, if I am thinking, yes, this candidate's great, and they're fitting really, really conveniently into one of my positive biases, I just have to address, is it because I'm biased or is it because they're the best person? And I kind of think we need to do that in all of our lives, and I think we need to do that without making it that we're bad people. We're a community, I think, that learns really well. I think we're a community that takes on other ideas. That's what we do. That's our hobby, is sitting down and opening something up and falling into someone else's head. And I just want to say to you all, please practice this at this time. Just try and step into the other side's shoes, whatever size and colour and heel length they are. Hopefully you have enjoyed this video. It's probably a little bit divisive, so if you haven't, that's fine too. But on the theme, chat about it in the comments. I'm more than happy to go there and talk it out with you guys. Until I see you next time, I hope you're having a really lovely week and that you have a brilliant weekend planned ahead. For those of you in the UK, it's a bank holiday weekend, so big plans. Bye bye.